You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
So last week, I was being interviewed by a radio station, two guys, Fred and Joel, who run a news program on 92.5 KOWS outside of San Francisco in California. And they were asking me about, hey, is the Fish Mart still doing pretty well in Seattle, Pike Place Market? Are you able to go and just kind of walk around and do all that stuff? And my answer to them was yes, but I probably wouldn't recommend doing it at night. That area has gotten pretty sketchy. The whole downtown Seattle core has gotten really super sketchy. A lot of shootings, a lot of stuff after night. Even in the late afternoon, you've got just some crazy, crazy stories going on. Video of a woman just being hit in the back of the head as she's walking away by a homeless guy with a baseball bat. I mean, he just steps up and tees off on her head. Horrible, horrible stuff. So that's what we're talking about today. People still want to envision Seattle as it was 25 years ago, before all of kind of just this deterioration has really set in. And then the pandemic has really, really accelerated it. There's no other word to use. The homelessness issues, the drugs, the crime, the break-ins, they have hit Seattle hard. And we're going to talk about some specific businesses that are struggling. You've got storylines that I'm going to be covering: insurance rates skyrocketing. And that's for companies that can get insurance in Seattle, because they will look at a map and go, oh yeah, let's see, your shootings are up 40%. And this is per your police statistics. Your shootings are up 40%. Your break-ins are up 10%. And I'm making these numbers up because I don't have them all memorized because I'm a real estate guy, but we'll get to that too. So you've got all these storylines, and people just want to remember and envision Seattle the way they have it in their head. And unfortunately, Seattle has changed. Can it turn back around? Absolutely. I am a firm believer in that. If New York City could back when I was a kid, then Seattle can today. It's just going to take a lot of work. And the current politicians are going to have to actually start doing something instead of just letting things go. The soft approach on crime, that's going to have to go by the wayside. You're going to have to lock some people up. You're going to have to make people abide by the laws. And you're going to have to take a stance on homelessness and, pervasive drug use. So, nothing that can't be done. No other city's really done it, right? But in the current day and age. But I think Seattle is small enough where we could get a handle on it and make things go. But in the meantime, people need to know, hey, yeah, and we're even going to take a look at an article that kind of indicates what tourists are thinking about this. Hey, yeah, I came to Seattle and all right, that's what we're jumping into today. Basically, businesses struggling with the ongoing crime that's happening to Seattle. Before we jump on in, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies, and I read the news, and that is my intro. So let's get going. All right, so downtown Seattle. Let's see, cut Tristan, and let's go with. So downtown Seattle businesses concerned after the city sees 4 shootings in 3 days. So this is a normal occurrence, not necessarily 4 shootings in 3 days, but shootings. I read about shootings almost every single day. There's something going on. You might say, hey, that's big city crime, but a lot of it is either due to drug use, people breaking and entering, or homelessness. Just going to throw that out there. That's a lot of what is going on, right? In the last 3 days, there have been 4 shootings in Seattle, all near the downtown districts of the city. On Friday, Seattle police say a suspect shot an employee during a robbery at Key Bank in the SODO District. It happened around 1 p.m. on the 1900 block of First Avenue South. So 1 p.m., this is just south of where our big domes are, where the Mariners play and the Seahawks play. Did you guys watch the Super Bowl? Yeah, I did too. Watch the halftime show a little bit. I wasn't really rooting for a team. I just kind of went with LA because, West Coast is the best coast. I don't know. I just had to pick a team, so that's what I did. My son hosted a Super Bowl party, and we watched that, and he won a bunch of money betting because he's a much better than I am, and that's why I don't bet. So in this first shooting, first responders raced to the 40-year-old victim to the hospital. Police say the victim is in stable condition. However, the suspect got away. Invariably, the suspect gets away, and if they do catch the suspect with a gun, it's always a stolen gun. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Crime. It's pretty startling. The police don't have any pictures of the person or anything for me to alert my staff, like to keep an eye out. This is a manager or an employee or a business owner. And knowing that they're out there is kind of scary, said Ashley Nolan. Nolan is the operations manager for Paseo, a restaurant a few feet from the shooting. She says driving into work and seeing the police activity is frightening, but not surprising. And that's what I told the guys down at 92.5 in California. I told them, hey, you can go. They were asking about the fish market and also the underground tour in Seattle, because Seattle was built, and then we had this huge fire and just stuff came down, and there's this whole underground city. And so they were asking, hey, can you still go do that? And I was like, yeah, you can. And, you can do that, but don't do it by yourself and don't do it at night. I'm not even sure if they're doing that tour right now with the whole COVID thing. I know a lot of those tours got shut down, but, the fish market you can do, but it's crazy that there's tons of tourists that just don't know. This is a little sketch, because we've literally had the Seattle t-shirt shop and also a Seattle sneaker shop right there at Pike Place Market basically state, yeah, we either need to take our business online or we got to move to the burbs because it's too dangerous to operate a business and try and make money. And, that whole thing. So Seattle has this element going on, especially in downtown. Tourists, they don't really seem to care, and maybe they don't know. And it's like a lot of downtown areas of big urban cities. There's stuff going on that if you knew all the details about, you'd probably be like, probably not. Probably going to do a pass. Crime rates in Seattle are continuing to rise. Statistics show 2021 saw a 40% increase in shootings. That is not good. That is not good. City officials say it's at an all-time high. This week has been especially violent in Seattle. That was last week. Seattle had 4 shootings in 3 days. The most recent incident was Friday's bank robbery. The other shootings happened on Wednesday in Pioneer Square, just a little bit south of where I was talking about at the fish market, around 1:30 p.m. And there were 2 separate shootings in the International District on Thursday. We're going to talk today a little bit about Little Saigon, part of the International District. Businesses there are just like, holy smokes. Police, we need you to do something. Mayor, we need you to do something. And so you've got the 4 shootings going on. If that isn't a pretty good example of, a city that's got some stuff going on that I'm not trying to sweep under the rug, even though I'm a real estate guy. I think these are things you need to address in order to get things to be better. Our new mayor, Bruce Harrell, is wildly aware of them. He has been going out and doing some walkabouts, and he's talking about stuff. He's going to do some hotspot activity, and it couldn't happen any sooner because this stuff has gotten kind of out of control. Seattle business owners and tourists react to the latest record crime numbers and hotspots. Okay, so Como News talked to some business owners impacted by the crime and those visiting the city. Many people who live and work in Seattle know that its crime is becoming a larger issue, just like San Francisco. Some have experienced it firsthand, or a lot of these other cities, LA, they had a rise in crime, right? And more visitors are learning about the city's growing problem. Pike Place Market is a big draw for tourists and locals alike. What many people don't realize is that several businesses in the area have been dealing with break-ins. These are the ones I just mentioned. I have done full podcasts on these businesses. The Seattle Shirt Company has been broken into 7 times in 3 months. Sneaker City, which closed recently and moved online, was broken into 15 times in 2 years. 15 times in 2 years. All right. That's not good. That's not good for business because insurance. I mean, you can only do so many insurance claims, and your company is either going to absolutely jack up your rates or basically deny you coverage. And you're going to have to go fend for yourself with some other company who's like, oh, you had a break-in and you took a claim. Okay. So that's where the whole thing of, people who want to say, well, it's just a crime against a building. It's not that big of a deal. They've got insurance. They've got insurance until they don't. And that could put a business out of business. It's just how tenuous a lot of these businesses are. They're small businesses. They are not hugely capitalized like Target, where you're stealing a 70-inch TV from. We have video footage of that. I mean, you've just got some crazy stuff going on, right? So the Target on 2nd Avenue and Pike Street in downtown Seattle is one of the top locations in the city where officers responded to 911 calls last year. And man, they are emptying out that store. And these are not crimes of need. It's like the guy in New York, I think it was New York City, walking out of Trader Joe's with like 10 fat steaks, just 10 steaks. He's walking out and he's like, I'm real hungry. I'm effing hungry, I believe was the quote. I'm like, yeah, you're going to eat 10 steaks in a row? I don't think so, son. You're going to sell those steaks to some unscrupulous restaurant who's going to be like, all right, these look pretty good. I'm going to cook these up. All right. Selling these to me 10 cents on the dollar. Okay. I'll buy it. Because those meats are expensive, right? Seattle is a mess right now. It's a real mess. I've lived here for 34 years. I love this town. I hope it's resilient, but it has never been worse, said Rick Thompson. And that's a lot of what I experience. Just going over there, I'm over there a lot. And just go over there and there's this kind of sense of agitation when you go to Seattle, this agitation that you don't have here on the east side in Bellevue. Things are more calm. They're more normal. The streets are cleaner here. We don't have graffiti everywhere. In Seattle, it's like anything goes. And so why wouldn't it? I mean, the police there don't do anything. There's not enough of them. The prosecutors don't prosecute anybody for anything. So why would anybody stop doing their thing? And a lot of the laws have been, the crimes have been turned down into misdemeanors. So, hey, it's kind of a free for all for this type of stuff, right? I know I talked on the radio show with the two guys about Proposition, I think it's 47 or 48. I always get that confused. Where in California, if you steal under $950, it's basically a hall pass. Everybody knows it now. Everybody knows it. So Chris Horton is visiting from Napa, California. It didn't deter me. He's visiting Seattle, but it makes me concerned to make certain that I'm aware and I'm paying attention to my surroundings, said Horton. Absolutely. If you're in Seattle, pay attention to your surroundings. Just, know where you are. And it's a big city and crime does happen. It's usually pretty random, but it's concentrated in certain areas. And then at night, yeah, hard no-go, unless you're with a big group and you're out doing something. But even those, we've had some crazy shootings happen with those down in like Tukwila, which is just a little bit further south. So Como News talked to 4 friends from Vancouver, Canada. They're visiting Seattle for the very first time. That's a big trip coming down from either Vancouver or from going from here up to Vancouver. It's a few hour drive and you're in a whole nother land up there. We're just here for the weekend to see the downtown area and Pike Place, said Ilaria Ochab. According to the latest crime report, violent crime in Seattle has increased by 20%. And these are numbers that are up over what is already a fairly high level of crime to begin with. It's not great that crime rates are up, but I wouldn't say it's a deterrent. We also didn't know about it before coming here, said Ochab. Last year, Seattle saw the highest number of shootings and shots fired in a decade. Chinatown and the International District were among the top 3 neighborhoods that saw the largest number of cases. There have been a lot of shootings. I think there were 3 shootings in the last 3 months, and I think there's a lot of stuff that's going on over there, said business owner Nick Bowie. The new mayor, Bruce Harrell, he campaigned based on a tough stance on crime. Let's see if he's going to actually do anything. Now, he did just basically put an end date to the eviction moratorium in a way that I thought was, okay, you're going to give it 2 more weeks and then you're not going to extend it anymore. Seattle's got this weird thing on the books where we basically said, okay, even after that eviction moratorium ends, we're going to do 6 months more where you can't actually evict somebody, but you can allow that process to start. So we're baby steps. Seattle is getting there on the eviction moratorium. Another news story that I should update is the family that had their home, city water break, more than likely put their home going crashing down the hillside. It was a 45-degree slope. They had been sued by the city to basically demolish the home. city and that family, the 𝒂𝒕𝒍 family, they reached some kind of agreement where if the stuff is safe to get out, the city is going to let them look at that as they retrieve it from the home. The city does before they demolish it. So they came to some kind of agreement on, hey, we know all your family stuff is in there from the last 20 or 30 years. We're going to try and help you get that out. So that is being resolved. And then hopefully they can get that house down and start rebuilding that site, because what a disaster that was. So Sneaker City moving out of downtown Seattle after repeated break-ins and massive rent hike. So I covered that one. So their rent was going from $8,000 to $13,000, a $5,000 pop. And what's crazy about that is this is happening right where we're talking about all of this crime happening. So you've got owners of buildings who know that there's massive demand for these businesses, but some of them, because they're being broken into so often, they can't make a go of it. So it kind of depends on which business that you're analyzing or which business that you're looking at. But rent is very expensive in these areas. It's right in downtown Seattle, and it's close to where the ferries happen, and it's also close to where all the tour ships come in, dump all their people. People walk up to the gum wall. I've done a video on that. You can check that out. It's pretty gross. It's just a whole bunch of gum stuck to a wall. The sugar in that gum was impacting the concrete and brick so much, brick with mortar, that they have to scrape it off every now and then. So you got the gum wall there. Right above that, literally 30 feet away, is the fish market. And then you've got Sneaker City, just, probably 100 feet away from that. Then you've also got the t-shirt shop, probably another 100 feet away from that. And so you got Sneaker City moving out of downtown. They had to go to an online deal because they've got this massive rent and they've been broken into. One of their deals is that they kept the glass window, they kept it boarded up because they had so many break-ins. They're like, yeah, we're not dealing with this anymore. And so, you've got stuff like that going on the regular, and tourists coming into town for a single shot, maybe an afternoon. I do the same thing coming from Bellevue, go over there, just hang out. It's a nice sunny day. You get in, you get out, and you don't think too much of it. But businesses that are there day in and day out, and it's the night. It's at night when a lot of this stuff goes on. The night prowlers come out, right? So local businesses wait for help amid crime trend. So small business owners like Robert Carson, owner of the bodega, South Lake Union, and Cask and Trotter, says that he fears without accountability, he won't be able to keep his doors open much longer. As more businesses are forced to board up, city and county officials say they're working together to track down the individuals responsible. Nobody wants to come down here, Carson said. He says crime is driving customers away. We're averaging a break-in every 2 weeks, Carson explained, showing us his boarded up facade, the exterior. He's painted the plywood black to give it a more appealing look. Nothing says appealing and come on in than black painted paneled wood. It's a horrible look. You do the best you can with that, but glass is really no longer really an option, right? Because a window, like this article says, will last less than a week. The last window lasted 4 days. Carson's running out of cash as each double pane window costs about $1,000. He's replaced 6 in the last 3 months. For a business that's teetering, just the emotional wear and tear that goes on with these business owners is crazy, and they can't reach out to insurance because they'll get dropped. And for a claim like that, you got to have a window, but then maybe you don't have to have a window. You just leave it boarded up. And that creates that sense to the consumer that things are wildly wrong. There is something going on with this location here. And when you see enough of them boarded up, that's when you tend to stay away as a consumer. And that's what happens. So we're not even selling enough merchandise at this point to replace windows, Carson said. He fears for his businesses every time a new homeless encampment pops up because he knows they're going to get hit. We all know this. And yet people, the big proponents for homeless encampments or buying up hotels like I've got going on just down the road here, we've got King County buying up hotels and putting homeless people in there and that are not off of their drugs, that need to be on their meds. What could possibly go wrong? Let's put them 30 feet away from a school, like we're literally doing here in Kirkland. We've got East Side Preparatory School, 30 feet away from La Quinta Inn, which is going to, I think it's got 130 rooms that are going to be dedicated to basically short-term housing, transitional housing, whatever you want to say. I mean, what could possibly go wrong there, right? I mean, it seems like a completely reasonable solution. Have crazy people hopped up on drugs next to young children going to school. I mean, that should be fine. I mean, look at how Bitter Lake did in Seattle with that whole thing. They literally had a homeless encampment on school grounds. And the ridiculous Seattle school district said, we're not sweeping people. We think they're good. All right. As they commit crimes as their children watch it happen. Not good. But the narrative is that solutions are on their way, according to Casey McNerney, spokesperson for the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. They're trying to do some stuff to actually get some traction, to get this crime rates lowered. You're going to have to arrest a bunch of people, and you're going to have to put them in jail for a while. I don't really see that happening. Going out and doing more patrols, taking police off of other areas of the city and putting them into hot spots. Okay, temporarily that's going to do something. You got to start arresting these people, throw them in jail for a while. I just don't think we're prepared to do that yet. You've got to have consequences for this stuff. So we're teaming up with the city's attorney's office to say, hey, let's try to combine these misdemeanor cases that come independently to them one by one from the Seattle Police Department to the city's attorney's office to try to minimize the rise of or get it to rise to the felony level so that we can more effectively address it. King County officials say more than 400 commercial burglary cases were charged last year, and between 25 and 30 are being charged daily burglary in Seattle. So if that doesn't kind of make you think, oh, and how many of these are not being reported? How many crimes in general, drugs, assaults, how many of these are flat not being reported? A ton. Probably at least like 100%. And I have no way to judge that. But so many people now are like, well, I know that if I call 911, nobody's going to come or they don't have time for this type of call. So why would I even report it? My car got broken into down in Newcastle, which is just south of Bellevue here. I didn't report it. I know I should. I'm not being a good citizen. Got broken into. Somebody popped my locks, got into my car at a park and ride. I lost some stuff. I'm still trying to figure out what I lost because I, lose stuff. And I'm like, well, where did that go? I think it was in my car last. Oh, did that get jacked? Probably, right? So, this is happening all over. And these crime statistics, I think, are far, far greater than the media is able to report because of stuff like I just explained to you. People are like, well, yeah, I just don't really have the time to deal with that. Plus, nothing's going to happen. So, whatever. Whatevs, right? Crazy. All right. So businesses struggle in Seattle's Little Saigon, a priority crime cleanup area. So gun violence rang out across Seattle over the weekend, and with shootings in Capitol Hill, Little Saigon, and a murder in the Rainier Valley. Oh, that's a special treat right there. One of the shootings happened Saturday at 12th Avenue South and South Jackson Street. Police say a bullet ricocheted off a sidewalk and hit a man in the leg. That is really that's unlucky. But lucky he didn't get hit elsewhere that would cause something greater. Businesses nearby say the shooting itself isn't all that remarkable. It's just a day that ends in Y. However, the gun violence happened a day after Mayor Bruce Harrell announced 12th and Jackson as a priority area for police to crack down on crime. This is an intersection that is just loaded. There will be over 100 people over there at any time of the day at this intersection, said Eric Wheeler, who was repainting a business in the neighborhood Monday. I've seen people come down here and they turn around and go the other way because it's scary. I need to do some drive-by footage there. before it gets swept. I mean, whatever. It's a mess over there. It brings a lot of problems, said Nick Boy, who owns Dong Tap Noodle across the street from the Trouble Corner. It's a swap meet over there. It's drug dealings. There are a lot of cases over there, and it's just a lot of illegal activity. So we've got these areas that we know are absolute hotspots. A lot of them have to do with proximity to homeless encampments. Our mayor knows it. Our police department knows it. Our police department, they got defunded and a lot of them quit. And we don't really have the numbers to provide safety like we used to. So we're just at this position where we know that we need to do something. By we, I mean political leaders in charge. Are they going to be able to, get enough traction here? We've got new city prosecutor, a new city attorney she ran on a campaign of, tougher stance on crime. The mayor has run on that stance. Will this be enough to get a foothold and get going? I don't know. I think you're going to see a bunch more businesses go under before this gets any better. You're going to see more and more stories about this and, fewer and fewer people recording them because it kind of becomes old hat after a while, right? It's like beating the same drum. Well, you did that last week and the week before, but nothing's really going on. I think something really bad is going to have to happen. And then everybody will go, oh, that is not good. What's the dealio with Seattle? And you'll say, well, I know it's just not all that safe right now. And you've got this circumstance of things that have been ongoing for years and years and years. The whole soft on crime approach. Yeah, that's not working. Turning felony crimes into misdemeanor crimes so that we don't arrest, anybody in particular too many times. Yeah, that's not really working. Putting an emphasis on guns. Yeah, that's not going to work either because most of these crimes, most of these shootings, stolen guns. Just read the stories. It's not that hard to figure out. So this is what's going on. People need to be made aware. But what is so weird, circling back to the beginning of this podcast, is that people want to remember Seattle for the way it was. And it is a beautiful, beautiful city. And it's got some issues. It needs a little cleaning up. It needs a little graffiti removal. It needs, a little scrubbing of its optics. And until that happens, some crazy stuff. But people still love their trip to Seattle. It's crazy. They don't seem to really care that all of this is going on because it doesn't really impact them on the daily. They're in and out for a couple hours. You get off the tour boat, you walk up the hill, you go to a decent restaurant, you walk around. There's throngs of people, just hundreds of people walking around, especially on a nice day. We're having one of those we're having a fake spring right now. I'm recording this on the 14th. Oh, happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, we don't really care about that, do we? Yeah, no. Sorry, ladies. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you from the bottom of my heart. But you get to a certain point and you're like, well, that's just a holiday for Hallmark and See's Candy because they make bank and the rest of us are like, happy holiday or not happy holidays. Happy Valentine's Day, honey. And, that's kind of, are we going out tonight? No, it's Valentine's Day. It's going to be crowded. We don't want to do that. Let's stay home and watch whatever. It's what you do, right? So you've got people that come into town and, they get their experience and they're gone. It's crazy. Getting back to my fake spring, we've got these weather systems that come into Seattle. And sometimes people pick those right spots. They come into Seattle and it's beautiful and the mountains are out, Rainier's out, Baker's out up to the north. We got the water, sunlight glistening on the water. And who cares about the crime stats? They're not all that relevant. Yeah, until it's your business being broken into, and then you might call it quits. So it's this weird narrative, right? Beautiful city. It's a little dinged up right now, but yeah, it should probably make it. It's crazy. Yeah. But either which way, I will keep reporting these stories right here on the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. All right. That's all I got for you on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Love to have you subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm doing this twice a day. We're releasing twice a day, Monday through Friday, once on Saturday, once on Sunday. All right. Thanks again for being here to the bitter end. We'll catch up soon. Bye for now.